Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a great Monday. I think it is. Okay, yes, it is a Monday. I'm going to switch right on over to our main scene. I'll welcome y'all in just a second. I want to get to these two tornado warnings that we have active out here, one in Ohio and one down there in Kentucky. So we've got a pretty tight area rotation that's attempting to develop out here. This is in Sugar Tree Ridge, Marshall, just north of Seaman in south central Ohio. So make sure you're in your safe spot if you're in that tornado warning. That has actually dropped a tornado, an unwarned tornado. If you follow me on Twitter, I was able to get that post out a little late, but still got it out. We had an unwarned tornado, pretty strong. Lofty debris about 7,000 feet up in northern Kentucky. This entire line is really intensified in the last couple of hours. And not even that, like the last 30 minutes or so. So that is, let's see. See if that's another tornado warning elsewhere, or if that is just, okay, that is, apparently we've got a tornado warning in Michigan. Look at that. We've got a tornado warning up here in Michigan right now. Yep. Yeah, that is definitely a tornadic storm. So we have a tornado warning way up here in northwestern Michigan and a general thunderstorm risk. That's considered, we consider that a 0.5 out of 10 because you're not completely clear. You're in a very low risk for isolated thunder and rain. And in this case, there's actually a tornado warning way up here. You can see a little couplet trying to get its act together right in here. And that's a little bit north of the hook, so that might be just a little bit of clear air, but definitely a tornadic storm there. But back to Kentucky, also this southern one here. You could see this southern one has really tried to ramp up. Now, this is pretty far, so there's been quite a bit of contamination, but that is also attempting to drop a tornado just to the south of Concord in far northeastern Kentucky. And then, like I said, we want to keep an eye on this couplet here, southwest of Marshall, trying to drop a tornado, as that has previously produced a tornado. So I'll just go back over to this radar really quick up here in Michigan. Updated velocities, not really much rotation there, but that doesn't mean there's no rotation completely. This radar beam is scanning probably, I'd say probably about a good 1,500 feet up into the atmosphere here. So there definitely could be some very lower level rotation, a very weak wall cloud trying to produce a tornado out here in Michigan. So 3 tornado warnings now active. All right, let's see what we have here in the chat. We have Kaylee, King Bob, Jake, Proxy, Christopher, go down a little bit, Johnny, as well as Catman. Glad to have you guys all in here for another stream. Brooklyn in here as well, Anthony. Let's see, Sam, if I didn't already say Sam, welcome to the stream. And everyone else who's watching who may not be chatting or is just now tuning in, also welcome Pete and Big Man Drums, Jonathan, Misty, everyone else as well. So we're up to 3 tornado warnings. Didn't expect to dive right into active warnings here. So this warning goes for 14 more minutes here. Gonna definitely keep an eye on that. And then again, this warning up here for 29 more minutes. Welcome, Ivy and Dylan. Glad to see you in here as well. So let's go ahead and talk a bit broader scale here, a lot larger. Zoom all the way out on our radar program here. We've got three different slight risks for severe weather. Obviously, the one popping off now is that one out there in Kentucky and Ohio. Big slight risk there. It is only for damaging winds, but we've actually seen 1-inch hail, 60, almost 70-mile-an-hour wind gust, and of course, we saw at least one tornado, 2 active tornado warnings right now out there in that slight risk for severe weather. The random Michigan tornado warning ongoing right now in that what we like to call 0.5 out of 5 risk for severe weather. That's the general thunderstorm risk. And then we have 2 overnight risks for severe storms. Now, out here in eastern Nebraska, these should get going first. Main threat is going to be 70-mile-an-hour winds, 3-inch hail, and the potential for a brief tornado. And then this will be our overnight risk. We're expecting a overnight pretty severe MCS. It will likely pack 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts with it. Could get the isolated gust of 80. Could see some 2 to 3-inch hailstones with any discrete storms. And then as we get really late into the overnight hours, closer to 2 a.m., 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're looking at the risk for a couple tornadoes, specifically in southern Kansas and northern and northeastern Oklahoma. So that's your 3 main risks for severe weather. I'll go over the probabilities real quick here. So main tornado risks, they have a random 2% up there in Wisconsin, 2% back out in Nebraska, Iowa, and then actually they upgraded this to a 5% out here in Kansas and Oklahoma. Not too sure why. I really don't think that was needed, but they did go ahead and upgrade that to a 5% tornado risk for Oklahoma and Kansas. Damaging winds, 15% here in Kansas, Oklahoma, 15% back up in Nebraska, Iowa, and then a big 15% out here in Ohio, Kentucky, even into West Virginia. Hail risk, not present out there in the Ohio Valley. Hail risk is 15 hatched back up here in Nebraska and Iowa, and then a 15 hatched risk out here in Kansas and Oklahoma for hail. So all hazards on the table today, for sure, all hazards on the table today, and most of which, especially the hail threat, is going to end up being a pretty notable severe threat. Check that velocity couplet. Not really tightening up. You can see these green. This is winds going towards the radar. Red is winds going away from the radar. So it's trying to ramp up here, but it's not gate to gate. It's not very, very close to each other here. It's close enough to warrant that tornado warning, but definitely not a very tight area of rotation yet. And then our tornado warning down here in Vanceburg, Kentucky. You can see that pretty tight area of rotation, but this is a bit of corruption because what's going on here, switch back to this radar. So this is the little area of rotation we're watching, right? Let me switch to this one. That's the little area of rotation right at my cursor. So that's the region that could produce a tornado. But our radar beam is way back up here, way back up in Wilmington, Ohio. So your radar beam has to scan through all of this junk first. It has to scan through this entire junk of a severe line before it gets to that actual area of rotation. It's more of a straight beam, so it's scanning more like this. That's what it's scanning. So it's scanning through all that heavy, heavy precipitation, very small hail, even other area of tornadic rotation and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts there before it actually gets to our area of rotation. But you can see this is an embedded supercell. If we loop this a bit, this was actually a semi-discrete supercell towards Charters at Kentucky, then became a more embedded supercell with the MCS that is ongoing here. And you can still make out that embedded supercell structure here. Very miniature, tiny supercell embedded inside this MCS. It's interesting that a 10 significant tornado risk was considered a few hours ago. Makes me make What makes me make their not seeing morning convection as a major limiting factor, which is interesting. I did see the SPC, they actually denoted it again here. If you scroll down in their discussion, storms should gradually grow upscale, referring to tomorrow, as they move southeastward into the evening and overnight hours. Higher wind and tornado probabilities were considered over eastern Oklahoma into western Arkansas, given the favorable environment. Though continued uncertainty regarding early day convection and implications on storm mode limit forecast confidence at this time. So they didn't introduce that 10 hatched risk, but they probably will do a 30% wind and a 10 hatched risk for tornadoes sometime at tomorrow's update. We're also watching, let's see what that is. That's an expansion for our tornado warning there. So tornado warning expanded into southern Ohio now. Our fourth active tornado warning. Man, little miniature areas of rotation, really trying to spin up some tornadoes here. So that's our fourth active tornado warning right now, and we could see some more here if these little areas here try to ramp up at all. We want to keep an eye on those little greens and reds, just in case they try to ramp up and could end up becoming tornadic in the future. That entire severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued is possible. Go back up to Michigan real quick. Let's see. Give me just a second. Okay. Yeah, so we want to watch that tornado warning. Just be in your safe spot if you are in the tornado warned areas. Like I said, 4 tornado warnings active at this point. I don't believe any are on the ground, but remember, a tornado warning means a tornado is imminent or possibly even on the ground. It's really impossible for us to know for sure if one of these are on the ground unless we get a report or a confirmation from like a traffic camera or something, because radar is not going to be too helpful, especially with these further south ones here into northeastern Kentucky. Those are going to be really hard to depict if they're on the ground or not. I think they will make it into southwestern PA. I do, but I definitely don't think they will be as strong as what they are now. Yeah, you said southwestern PA, yeah. It'll be close to about midnight before they get up there. And the main risk will probably be 30-mile-an-hour wind gust. It shouldn't be anything too crazy. You might want to watch Thursday more. Thursday has a risk for some severe weather up there in southwestern PA, depending on the timing of our trough. But you're not in any notable risk for severe storms. The main threat is off to your southwest today, and then over the next few days, it's probably going to stay well west, and then eventually Thursday's main risk will probably be a bit east of you. I think you are in the marginal for today, though. Yeah, you see Pittsburgh is in the risk for some isolated severe wind gust of 60 miles per hour. Yeah, that's getting a bit tighter there. That was the other area I pointed out. So this is the original tornado warned area here. But there's actually a bit of a stronger area trying to intensify here, especially on that newest scan. Continues to intensify right in this area, just southwest of Sinking Springs in south central Ohio. Way further south towards Boonville, Kentucky, Campton, Kentucky, Jackson, Kentucky, Grassy Creek in Kentucky. You guys are under the gun for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That little blue area you have there, that is likely 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Could even get a few gusts of 65 inside that blue velocity area as that stronger area of winds moves up to the northeast. So watch that. That's coming into Vortex, just north of Turkey in Kentucky. Let's go north again. So no CC drops. So that means there's no debris being lofted with this tornado warning just yet. And then further south, this is a spike of contamination on CC. Definitely a corrupted radar beam there. All right, while we wait for the next scan, I want to go into tomorrow's risk for severe weather. So here's tomorrow's risk for severe weather. Big old marginal, huge marginal for severe weather, with a pretty large slight risk in the middle of that. That encompasses Texas, as well as Oklahoma and Arkansas. I do believe we will see a orange added in here, level 3 out of 5. And right now that looks to be pretty widespread. I think we will see a very large enhanced risk added somewhere across northeastern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, northwest Arkansas, even into southwestern Missouri. And that may even be larger. I mean, this thing could stretch all the way from north of Springfield all the way down into much of Arkansas, depending on how far north that warm sector gets. Take a quick look at our model run here. This is our newest 48-hour run for the HRRR. And if we just bring this out really quick, that's our instability for today. We want to look at that Cape for tomorrow. You could see, so this has that boundary setting up right up in this vicinity here. So your main risk for severe weather would be in this region right in there. That's where you would see probably a slight risk, and eventually some areas in that region would be in a enhanced risk for severe weather. And you can see that goes into your general thunderstorm risk there. If we switch back to your radar, some of the general thunderstorm risk could be upgraded to a marginal, and then a slight, and then maybe an enhanced, or they could do it in one update, just jump some of y'all from marginal to enhanced, or general thunderstorm risk to enhanced. Because you also got to remember, we're looking at a wind risk too. So I think our wind risk is going to be a larger, that's going to be the largest portion of your enhanced. So if I just bring this out here with the radar, wow. It's been a hot minute since I've seen these little guys here on a model run. Very distinct supercell features there on the HRRR. And you can even see those across Oklahoma, Arkansas. That is what we like to call a big day for tornadoes on this HRRR model run. Some discrete supercells well in front of your main cold front too. And I mean, you can see this congeals up into an MCS too. So, I mean, your main risk for severe weather would be across this region right in here. It goes off your screen too, all the way from northeastern Texas, just north of Fort Worth, Dallas, all the way back up to Fort Smith, through Little Rock, all the way up to Springfield. So I don't know how far north that enhanced risk will get, but if this does come to fruition here, we could see that 10 hatched risk as far north as up here, which is in the general thunderstorm risk, which is a 0.5, and that level 1 marginal risk out of 5 for severe weather currently. So really, where I think the enhanced risk will be placed as they extend that tornado warning in southern Ohio, I think they will place that enhanced risk. I feel like the most confidence right now is in here. I feel like that's where the most confidence is right now. Wherever those storms fire, which looks to be probably about Tulsa, maybe slightly east of Tulsa, all the way through much of northern Arkansas. And if there is enough confidence in this happening, which I think a few other models are starting to uptrend on that, that enhanced risk might look more like, say, this. Something more like this for an enhanced risk. And much of that would be a 30% wind risk. And then, you know, some of that would also be 10 hatched. Crazy noise happening outside right now. Trying to see what it is. All right, there we go. Yes, this is just a model run, but it's been uptrending a lot. It's been uptrending a lot. The main thing it's going to come down to is morning convection. That's really it. That is the number one thing. If tomorrow is a big underperformance, it's going to be morning convection. A very close number one is also over convection. So you got the morning MCS that rolls through, and then possibly some over convection with some of these storms in Arkansas. That is... I'm not going to get over that image. It's been a hot minute since we've seen something like that. 5 semi-discrete supercells all in close proximity in Kansas too. Also, northern Arkansas in the month of September, I don't believe northern Arkansas has had a EF2 tornado in the last like 98 years. So if we do get an EF2 rated tornado in like northern Arkansas, northwest Arkansas, it's the first strong tornado in like 98 years in the month of September. So this is a very, very far southern trough. A lot of the times, if we switch over to our 500 millibar trough here, our 500 millibar wind speeds, this is your trough. This is your trough right in here. You've got a positively tilted trough with negatively tilted short waves. And typically this stuff is in Montana, North Dakota, maybe as far south as Nebraska. It's very rare that we're talking Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas in the month of September. So very, very rare, especially when we're talking about a strong tornado threat, which I do think will be present for Arkansas. So that's your 5% tornado risk there from the SPC at the moment. That 2% tornado risk will probably be expanded at least a little bit more north. And that 5%, depending on confidence in this scenario, may also be expanded. So we'll have to see what runs look like in the morning. That's the big thing, is what happens tomorrow morning. What does this actually look like towards 8, 9 a.m. tomorrow? Is it actually going to be a huge, weak MCS that sweeps across our warm sector? Or maybe is it going to be something a little bit weaker, like what the NAM3K shows here, where it's a bit more broken up? You could see here a bit more broken up in 2 different segments, where this just kind of becomes light rain, and then the southern side just kind of does its own thing and then eventually dies out. So that's the big, big question, is what happens with that morning convection for tomorrow. But even if it is a big MCS, I do think we'll see a 10-hatched tornado risk either way. It just depends on that MCS's placement. If the MCS is very far south, that 10-hatched risk might not go into, Missouri and Kansas. But if we don't see this big MCS, that 10-hatched might go into Kansas and Missouri. I do want to go back to this active tornado warning real quick. Still 2 areas of rotation there. 2 pretty good areas of rotation in that tornado warning. Ooh, probably going to get another tornado warning right here. Probably going to get that. That's probably going to end up getting a warning here soon. Yeah, that's actually probably the strongest day of rotation right now. So we've got like 4 areas to watch for rotation here in south central Ohio. This is now all in Ohio now. In terms of those tornado warnings, we still do have the one random one in Michigan, but thankfully that has died out. So that will either be allowed to expire in 27 minutes, or they will cancel that early, depending on which they deem fit. And then going on into day 3, we do have a giant, and I mean a giant, marginal risk here across a huge chunk of the southeastern and south central U.S., all the way from southern Texas, all the way through almost the entire state of Louisiana, almost the entire state of Mississippi, much of Alabama, almost the whole state of Tennessee, into Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Arkansas, even a very small sliver of West Virginia included inside that big old marginal for our day 3 outlook. That encompasses almost 35 million people under the gun for some sort of severe weather going on into, I believe this will be Wednesday. Yes, this will be Wednesday. Now, the good news is I don't see Wednesday being a notable severe threat. I think we will see widespread 50, 60 mile per hour winds and a couple instances of 1-inch hail. But I don't see a really notable severe threat. And if there is a notable severe threat, it's going to be on the northern end of that, closer to your low pressure. So your low pressure is going to be like right here on Wednesday. And I think that greatest severe threat will probably be focused just south of that low pressure system. And that is if we can get enough instability, which right now a few models indeed do have a pretty good threat for all hazards, including tornadoes, actually a little bit more south too, across this area in here. So that's going to be the main area to watch for Wednesday. It used to be Mississippi, Louisiana, but With our recent trends, it's moved more towards Tennessee and especially Kentucky. And then there might even be a secondary area. A few models really like, for some reason, really like West Virginia and Southern Pennsylvania right in here for the chance of also a spin up tornado on Wednesday, which is very, very weird. And there's no outlook for Thursday yet, but Thursday's threat is going to be focused across this region here. That's where we'll be watching Thursday. And the greatest severe threat Thursday looks to be across Virginia and North Carolina, right in here where the instability will likely end up being the greatest. Now, that might shift. That might shift towards southern Pennsylvania and Maryland. It just depends how much Cape we get. But Thursday will definitely be a mid-Atlantic and eastern U.S. threat. Maybe even something chaseable here in Virginia and NC. We'll see. I'm a bit surprised we don't have a tornado warning on that storm yet. This one right in here. Southwest of Wakefield. Looks pretty good. Pretty good area of rotation. Kaylee, you excited for your tornado threat tomorrow? I'm sure you are. I bet you're over the moon about it. Is the risk mostly northwest Arkansas? My cousins are north of Little Rock. Yeah, that's where the main threat looks to be, is north of Little Rock for tomorrow. North of Little Rock. So if we take a look here, this is your tornado risk. And that 5% I think will come a little bit more to the northeast. So the main risk really looks to be right in here. And that could be expanded more north. The north extent of this is it's all going to come down to the MCS tonight into tomorrow morning. If that MCS is just the tiniest bit more south, it could wipe out instability across our warm sector in eastern Oklahoma and northern Arkansas. And then it won't be as big of a severe threat, but it will still be a severe threat. So we need to keep a close eye on what our MCS does in the morning hours, overnight tonight into the morning hours tomorrow. But I do think we will see an enhanced risk in this area. I really do believe that. I don't know exactly where. I mean, at one point I circled Kansas, but like right now our highest confidence is in here. Maybe a little east of Tulsa. Okay, right in here. Like generally in there, right? The Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and maybe even southeast Kansas borders. Right in that region for tomorrow's threat. And tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow does look like the best threat for tornadoes too. For anyone wondering, out of all the next 4 days, out of Monday, today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, today is pretty up there, especially in Ohio, but tomorrow is definitely the main tornado threat. And then Thursday looks like a low threat, but still could see a tornado or two in Kentucky, Tennessee, maybe even into West Virginia, Northern Virginia. And then Thursday, we'll see. That's a little too far out. That's a little bit too far out. I'm not confident in a threat on Thursday. Whenever it goes to the mid-Atlantic, once a trough crosses the Appalachians, it seems like the tornado threat just dissipates fully. Like it just gets rid of any type of wind shear, and there's just no tornado threat for Virginia, North Carolina, or along the East Coast. I mean, the only other time I know it was either early this month or late last month, late August, we had a tornado threat up in Vermont in New Hampshire. It's like it's never out in the mid-Atlantic, like Pennsylvania through northern South Carolina. Still surprised that's not tornado warned. I mean, it doesn't look like ridiculously tight, but definitely enough for a tornado warning, especially with the other two that are actively warned here. Still under a tornado warning in far northern Michigan. They've continued that tornado warning for 21 more minutes. But thankfully, the areas of rotation are very, very weak. Still two little weak velocity areas, but weak is like an understatement here. These things are barely even blowing wind. I mean, they are very, very weak little areas of rotation. Still enough to seek shelter. We are going to see an increase in severe activity with this region in here, northwest Kansas, southeastern, east central Colorado, over the next hour or two. I'm not interested in today's threat. I really am just not. I think we could see 70-mile-an-hour winds and 2-inch hail, but it's really going to take a good discrete storm, especially in southern Kansas, in order for us to see a good severe threat, like our 80-mile-per-hour winds, 3-inch hail, and a few tornadoes. That's not going to materialize unless we get some discrete storms in southern Kansas, and there's just not a lot of confidence in that, which is why I was surprised with the SPC's 5% tornado risk that was added at 4 o'clock Eastern, which is 20Z. But, I mean, you never know. It's Kansas, right? So anything can happen. It's Kansas, Oklahoma. Anything can happen here. But yeah, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share the stream with your family, friends, social media, get the word out about our severe threat over the next few days. Again, just to show you the outlooks, mainly tomorrow. This is tomorrow's outlook. The northern extent of this threat all comes down to that MCS tonight into tomorrow morning. We could see that slight risk expanded a bit further north, but it won't go too far north. So I think we'll see a little expansion of that slight risk. We might see the tiniest bit expansion of that marginal, and then we'll likely end up with an enhanced risk somewhere in this area here. That will probably be an enhanced risk, and that enhanced risk might be a lot larger, or it could be a very tiny enhanced risk. It just depends on the confidence in the SPC in terms of the tornado threat. All comes down to the SPC's confidence. And then today's outlook, we've got 3 different slight risks. That main tornado threat is definitely southern Ohio for sure. And then we have a secondary tornado threat that's possible out there in southern Kansas, northern Oklahoma, very, very late tonight. We're talking closer to 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then there is another tornado risk out there in eastern Nebraska, southwest Iowa. I don't see much with that, but we could get a very brief spin-up tornado if anything does initiate. And if it does, it will likely be sometime between 8 p.m. Eastern here in about an hour and a half, and about 1 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time. And then there is another 2% tornado risk, a 4th one up here in southeastern Missouri, or rather southeastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, northeastern Iowa. That looks to be the chance for some severe storm or two, maybe a brief tornado. About 30 minutes from now. I think, are these the storms? I think these guys fired way too far south. Yeah, these were supposed to fire up here at 7 o'clock, and it's 6:30, and they're way down here. So I think that threat's already done, actually. I think that's done. Considering our storms are already really far south, I think that's actually passed for that tornado threat in Minnesota. Jackson out here in Kentucky, make sure you're indoors, away from doors and windows. 60-mile-an-hour winds rolling through all the way from Boonville down all the way to north of Manchester. And that will be pushing all the way through Jackson, West Liberty, Slayersville, and then eventually Prestonsburg down the line here in eastern Kentucky. Really good areas of rotation here on these northernmost tornado warnings. I think we just lost. Yeah, we just lost 2 tornado warnings. We're down to just 2. One way up there in Michigan, which is barely rotating. And then our one here in southeastern Ohio. So most of these, unless Radar Omega's bugging, definitely wouldn't be the first time. Nope. So we just lost most of our tornado warnings. Thank you, Miss, for the $10 donation. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for that super chat. Read it in just a second. Let's see. You're the only one on, just waiting to see if it hits this area. Let's go over to this region. Ooh, that's going to be a close one. Yeah, probably going to be at risk for 50, 60 mile an hour winds here in about an hour. Right about an hour from now. That tornado threat is definitely going to stay right on the northern edge of these storms. So, I mean, that's going to get pretty close. Yeah, definitely want to watch that. I think the peak of these storms is over the next hour. Really started at about 5:30 Eastern. So from 5:30 to 7:30 Eastern is really the peak of these storms. So probably once they pass you is when they're going to weaken. That's how it ends up going. Let me go to here. Now, the good news is there's not a lot of instability past, let's see, go over to radar real quick. Yeah, like there's not a lot of cape past like this area here. So just to your north, there's like not a lot of instability at all. The best instability is actually well south of you. Best cape is down here, which is convecative available potential energy. That's what thunderstorms use to intensify. And wind shear, which is turning with height, that's like, man, that is like barely that's like right in here. The best wind shear is like right in here, barely south of you. So main threat is 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gust. The max 50, 60 mile an hour wind gust and a brief spin up tornado. And wouldn't rule out a hailstone of like half-inch in diameter. Oh, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Greatly appreciate that. Yeah, and also thank you for that, again, $10 super chat. Why does this area not have a tornado risk? Because it was a bit of a sleeper risk. Honestly, I really expected to see the SPC put a 2% in this area at the 4 o'clock update, but they didn't. Because you have a pretty good amount of cape, 1,000, 1,500 cape. And then your 0 to 3 kilometer wind shear is up to like 200, 250 maybe. Yeah, 200. 200 in this area. So this little line segment right in here, that's going to be the best risk for 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gust, max wind gust of 60 to 70 miles per hour, a brief tornado, and then half-inch hail will all be possible with this as it moves to the northeast. That highest tornado risk will definitely be focused, on the more northern side right in here. Specifically with this one singular area. One singular area of rotation. Switch my color skin. Hopefully that goes a little bit more east. The only reason why it's rotating is because it's moving northeast. What's that is allowing for? That is allowing for winds from the south to move up like this and create this little inflow notch you see right in here. See how your DBZ values kind of move in an angle? They go from northwest to southeast and then north to south right here. And that north to south orientation, that is less favorable for tornadoes in this environment. Whereas that northwest to southeast orientation, which is specifically in here, that's where it's more favorable. And you can also see the same ordeal here. See how this kind of bows out a little bit? So you're going to have a little area of velocities right in this area because of that slight change in orientation. That's allowing for southeasterly winds to come around like this. And then down here, we will have to watch this little region here, but it looks like that's weakened enough to the point where they dropped the tornado warning. And you can see this is bowing out a lot. So this is mainly going to be a wind threat further down here. If there is any tornado threat with this little bowing segment, it's going to be on that northern edge where those winds come up and around like that. So just the northern side of all these little notches you see. Northern side of this notch. Northern side of this little notch. Northern side of this little notch. And there's 3 of those. And then down here, I wonder if there's anything with this. Nah. Now there's a lot worse wind shear the further south you go, especially south of this area. South of right in here, you drop from 200 0 to 3 kilometer SRH down to 100, and then eventually down to 50 with further south extent. So the best environment is definitely right up in here. But still, like, it's not a crazy environment. It's favorable for 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gust and a brief spin-up tornado as well as half-inch hail. So it's not like a ridiculously favorable environment, but it is enough to the point where, you know, you want to be watching these storms closely. And if you're in those tornado warnings, make sure you are seeking shelter. It still looks like this is moving a bit northeast. So that's going to come very, very close to, very, very close to some more populated areas here. What's your thoughts for Shreveport, Louisiana tomorrow? Probably nothing. I don't think you're going to see much at all in Shreveport. Shreveport's main threat is going to end up being... Man, you're right on the edge of it. So let me show you. So tomorrow, you're on the edge of that marginal. And then on Wednesday, you're on the edge of the marginal. So there's a chance storms literally die as they approach you for tomorrow night's risk. And then Thursday, there's a chance they fire to your east. So you're like right on that area of uncertainty. You could get a severe storm Wednesday morning, as well as on Wednesday evening. But it just depends when the storms die on Wednesday morning and when they fire again Wednesday evening. So just keep an eye out for 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts. That's it. Really just 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts being possible. Mainly Wednesday morning and then Wednesday evening. Timing on that, just to give you an idea of when to watch for storms. You're looking at about 8, 9 a.m. Wednesday morning Central Time. And then probably about 2, maybe 3 p.m. Wednesday afternoon. And then Thursday, these storms will be well removed from Louisiana. Southeastern Louisiana might have a risk for an isolated severe storm on Thursday, but that's going to be like New Orleans, far southeastern Louisiana. Not anywhere close to Shreveport for Thursday. Looks like they're going to let this tornado warning drop in 6 minutes. What's up, Floyd? Glad to see you in here. What do you think about Norman, Oklahoma tonight and tomorrow? So I think tonight, the main storms will stay north of Norman. It's hard to say exactly if they will, but it looks like the main risk is going to stay off to your north. The highest risk for severe storms today is definitely focused up from Dodge City back through Wichita, Kansas. And then we could still see a couple severe storms north of Norman, but it looks like Norman is... you still want to, make sure you have your weather radio on just in case. And make sure devices are charged just in case you lose power. But it looks like that main risk is off to your north. And then tomorrow, storms are probably going to fire to your east. So keep an eye out for an isolated strong storm, but these severe storms will likely fire around or east of Norman and then really become severe and significant as they get, towards Shawnee and east. So you look to be pretty lucky. Storms stay to your north tonight into tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow afternoon and evening, they should fire just barely off to your east. Opinion on the tornado potential tomorrow looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I think we'll have the opportunity for a tornado outbreak tomorrow. Really, really focused across southeastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, all the way back into Arkansas, somewhere in that vicinity. Now that could shift a little east. It could shift even a bit more north, and it could shift even a little bit more to the south or west too. It depends on the timing of your MCS and the arrival of your warm sector. But right now, things are actively uptrending for tomorrow. Even the newer 18Z model runs uptrended for tomorrow's severe threat. So I think we'll have the risk for multiple tornadoes, including the chance for a few strong tornadoes. And I mean, man, if we could get a discrete storm going, it wouldn't shock me if we get a long track strong tornado tomorrow. It really would not shock me. Looks like a pretty impactful day. Outside of that random tornado outbreak we had in North Dakota, that's the state. Yeah, we had that random historic tornado outbreak up there with like 3 PDS tornadoes in North Dakota not too long ago. I think that was about a week and a half ago or so. I lose track of time all the time. Outside of that, this is the biggest risk for severe weather we've seen probably since actually that was a 5% tornado risk, right? I don't think that went enhanced. So if this goes enhanced, it's going to be the biggest risk for severe weather we've had since like June 28th. So that's like what, almost 3 months ago. That's two and a half, almost 3 months ago. So this is one of our biggest risks in a long time, especially in this corridor, because June 28th, that was in North Dakota. So the last time we had a risk for strong tornadoes in Oklahoma and Arkansas, man, you're probably looking back in April. You probably are going to have to go all the way back to April for a risk of strong tornadoes in Oklahoma. No, May. Definitely May. My bad. May. For sure May. Probably since late May. For some reason, my brain just completely left logic, and I thought April was after May. Storm ETA for me tomorrow, and also what time for Arkansas tomorrow. Let's go ahead and pull out the HRRR. Yeah, we'll be covering tomorrow. We'll probably be live for 3-4 hours tomorrow. That's the plan. So first round probably rolls through in the morning, about 10 a.m. out there in eastern Oklahoma, approaching northwest Arkansas. And then that first round pushes through northern Arkansas about 1 p.m. Main round really starts kicking off about 3 p.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time. Storms really start to initiate eastern Oklahoma, even into northern Arkansas. And then, I mean, you just get a train of supercells. It's not a one-and-done ordeal here. We could see as many as 3-4 different supercell rounds in northern Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. So really, you want to start being weather aware just after noon. Starting about 1 p.m. Central Time, you really want to be weather aware in eastern Oklahoma through much of Arkansas. And then you can see it gets really rough. Really, really rough. 8 p.m. Eastern. You've got supercells, multiple supercells producing likely strong tornadoes up here. Supercells attempting to fire and produce tornadoes here. Multiple prefrontal, semi-discrete supercells, especially that one southwest of Jonesboro, also trying to produce tornadoes. So, I mean, that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. But it all comes down to one thing. One thing. That boundary / where the warm sector is. On this particular run, that warm sector / boundary is located right here. So anything that is on or south of that white line is going to be able to attempt to produce tornadoes, especially in the, like, right at the boundary, right in here, right at the boundary, right in that small corridor. Now, once you get further south, like, okay, Texas, you know, you're south of the boundary, right? In Texas, you're not going to have a good risk for tornadoes. Now, we could still see a brief tornado north of Dallas. That's still a possibility for the risk of a brief tornado in here. But you run out of wind shear. If we take a look at wind shear, let's see here. See if we can look at this. Might kind of want something a little better than that. Maybe this. Try to find the right product. There you go. This is your 0 to 3 kilometer EHI, Enhanced Helicity Index here. And you can see, hold on, I want to make sure that this is correct. Yeah, you can see that's really, really good up here. Really good up here. And then once you get further south, you only have these spots of wind shear and spots of areas that might be able to have, tornadic storms. So yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on that. Let's go to your 0 to 1 kilometer energy helicity index here. And I want to go further back. So the HRRR is really painting this area in here. Really painting far northeastern Oklahoma. And the NAM3K, yeah, the NAM3K just says hit, yep, everybody. Everybody gets a risk for tornadoes. That's what the NAM3K says. All the way from, actually, even including Tulsa. That should be a bit more west. Including Tulsa all the way till about Little Rock, Arkansas. And I think the NAM3K is probably correct with that environment. The HRRR is likely underdoing one ingredient here. I don't know which one that may be, but somewhere in here it's lacking an ingredient that's probably being too severely underdone. So I think the HRRR's composite reflectivity is correct, but I think the NAM3K's environment is correct. An enhanced risk is pretty likely, yeah. Yeah, an enhanced risk, I'm expecting an enhanced. I'm really surprised they didn't pull it at the, 1:30 or something update. I forgot when the day 2 Outlook updates. Let's see. Day 2, 1:30. Yep, 1:30 Eastern update, 1730Z. A bit surprised they didn't pull it at that Outlook, but they just said too much uncertainty on convective morning convection and convective evolution, aka storm mode. But I mean, HRRR, pretty potent threat for all hazards. So we're no longer under any tornado warnings here across the U.S. There is 0 active tornado warnings. I want to go back over here to Ohio. We're pretty far from the radar, but still want to keep an eye on these little areas here for the potential of a brief tornado. Special weather statement for 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts there. 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Welcome back, Brooklyn. Glad to see you here. Sure they'll do it at the midnight day 1 update. Probably. If not, they may wait a little bit later. It wouldn't hurt to just wait a little bit later to get the morning observations in fully, but they might pull it at like you said, 1 a.m. Eastern, midnight Central. Kind of a 50-50 chance there. They will pull it. I mean, I'd be shocked if we go live tomorrow whenever that may be, probably close to 334, and they don't have an enhanced out. I will be shocked. That will shock me. Yeah, so two plans. Either I'm going to be live about 3:30 or so, 3:30, 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, or I'm going to be live closer to 5:30 Eastern. One or the other. And that just depends on morning convection. Because if there's not a lot of morning convection, that could allow for the very weak MCS to spark prefrontal supercells at 3. And if it is a strong MCS, well, that's going to wipe out the whole warm sector until the evening hours. Let's see. I think Tulsa's in a 2% for tomorrow. Today you're in a 2%, and tomorrow you're in a 2%. And I think they'll keep Tulsa in that 2%. I don't expect that 5% to be pulled back much, if at all. That 5% may be expanded northward, and then also expanded a little bit eastward, too. It wouldn't surprise me if the 5% looks something more like that tomorrow, or maybe even a little bit more north than that. Just depends on that warm sector. The more north that warm sector goes, the more north that 5% is going to climb further and further and further. Just depends. And if your warm sector's completely chopped off, who knows, maybe that 5% shrinks. But really, I don't think there's any models that show the warm sector being small for tomorrow. Most of them are hinting towards a 5% tornado risk being expanded up towards like this. Further up into Kansas. The RAP model, the HRRR, the NAM, the NAM 3K. Let's see. The Canadian model run is not so confident in that, but it's the Canadian model run. We don't listen to that. That model's not good. It's really not good. I still use it for consistency, but it's not that good of a model. It really isn't. The GFS even is thinking northeastern, eastern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, southwest Missouri, northern Arkansas for the main threat. Yeah, I think we will see a 10 hatched. I agree. We will see a 10 hatched tornado risk. The risk itself, so you're in a slight risk, I think. Depends exactly where you live in Tulsa. I believe you're in a slight for wind today and a slight for wind tomorrow. Also a slight for hail tomorrow. But right now, I think storms will die out. I think storms will die out tonight before they get to you. And I think storms will fire east of you tomorrow. And yeah, we'll likely see a tornado watch. I'm expecting we'll see a tornado watch tomorrow too. So, like I tweeted out on Twitter a couple hours ago, make sure you have that tornado preparedness plan, tornado action plan, whatever you may want to call it. Just make sure it's ready out there. If you're anywhere inside the 2%, and yes, I said the 2%. If you're anywhere inside the 2% or the 5% tornado risk, make sure you've got that plan in place, which is simply very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. Just simply make sure your entire family knows where the safe spot is, and that's pretty much it. Just make sure you know where that safe spot is. That's the number one thing. And, you could always go the extra mile and put some bottles of water in there, even some canned food, just in case you get trapped, depending on if it's an outdoor shelter or not, or if it's an underground shelter or an indoor shelter, like a garage shelter. Personally, I would put extra water. I'd put extra canned goods. Like I said, make sure the family knows where the safe spot is. And another thing is make sure you have a weather radio in there, too. Make sure you have a weather radio in there. And, tomorrow, make sure your devices are staying pretty well charged. Don't let your devices get low. especially when that tornado watch comes out. And if you're included in that watch, definitely make sure those devices are charged, fully turned up in volume, so you can get those watches and warnings. But the number one thing is just making sure your family knows where that safe spot is. So that way when that warning comes through, you can all go there at the same time and all be there at the same time in the matter of seconds. Tulsa will either be barely in the tornado watch, and I'm talking by one county, or barely out of the tornado watch. It just depends on where storms fire. If storms fire a little bit early, yeah, you're going to be in it. If storms fire later, no, you won't be in it. It depends exactly where those cells fire. So we'll see how things look in the morning. And like I said, we'll spark up a stream either about 3:30 Eastern or about 5:30 Eastern, depending on when those storms really fire. And that depends on that morning MCS. 15 sick hail. That's kind of like 50-50. I think we will, but I don't know. 15%, 15 sick hail. Either way, there's the risk for 2 to 3 inch in diameter hail. Whether or not they put that hatched risk or not, I think we're going to see the chance for 2 to 3 inch in diameter hail. The number one thing is if they do end up putting that hatched risk, that's probably because they anticipate a bit less of a linear mode. But if it does look like more supercellular mode, which right now it does, that 15 hatched risk will probably be issued. Referring to hail, by the way, not tornadoes. Referring to hail. Ain't gonna see no moderate for tornadoes tomorrow, that's for sure. It ain't that type of day. Yeah, we also have 2 AOIs out here in the Atlantic. We got a 3080 out there south of Bermuda. That's likely going to become a tropical storm. And if it does become a tropical storm, there's a pretty good chance it's going to make a run at hurricane status. And if it does become a hurricane, some of our models have hinted that it will probably make a run at major hurricane status. So it just depends with this storm. I think if it becomes a tropical storm, it's going to be pretty well planted to the point where it's probably going to make a run at major hurricane status. So either a tropical storm or probably making a run at hurricane to major hurricane status for that. Main area to watch with that is definitely Bermuda. If you're in Bermuda, please watch the system. Some ensembles show a weak tropical storm, and then a lot of others do show a hurricane to possible major hurricane. Let me show you some of these ensembles. Just real quick here. These are very aggressive. This is what makes me think it's probably going to be making a run for a major hurricane. All right, let's go back to... I'm going to go to like 200 hours out because I don't want to go much further than that. It'll be... Actually, I could go back further than that. Let's go to 150 hours out. All right, here you go. Yeah, pretty much all the ensembles say major hurricane. Pretty much every single one has a major hurricane out here. And then a lot of them take it into or very close to Bermuda. And then we're also watching that 50% chance of development in the next 7 days towards the Bahamas. If you're in the Bahamas, especially if you're on vacation, I got bad news for you. You're probably going to have to be watching this for the potential of a tropical storm. A few ensembles do spin up a tropical storm around or in the Bahamas as we go into very, very, very early next week. We're talking Monday, maybe even Sunday. Sunday, Monday being the possibility of a tropical storm there. And then Tuesday and on may become a little bit stronger, but there's a lot of uncertainty regarding this system. A lot of uncertainty regarding this one. And if we go to our European ensembles, let's see what that has. I have not looked at the 12Z ones. Pretty good confidence in a hurricane. Quite a few say major hurricane. And then definitely getting some better confidence in the chance for a tropical depression or tropical storm in the Bahamas. Pretty good signal for both of those systems there. Especially this one. And the GFS ensembles, I mean, those are probably all over the place. Yeah. GFS being GFS. I won't pull those up. Oh yeah, duh. Yeah. Yeah, Gabrielle's a category 4 if you didn't know. Duh. Completely forgot to mention that, huh? Yeah, we got our second major hurricane of the season out here. Let me see if I can pull this up. Which one do they have it on? I gotta figure out which one. Is it 2? Yeah, there you go. Yep, category 4 hurricane. 140 mile per hour sustained winds right now. So mid-tier cat 4 right there. Mid-tier category 4. I think Recon found flight level winds at 150 knots, which was a shocker. That translated to about 140, 145 mile per hour sustained winds there. Millibar 948 millibar there. So that's our second major hurricane of the season, and it is our second hurricane of the season. Both hurricanes that we've had have been major hurricanes. Both our hurricanes this year have been majors. That's something. Last time that happened was 2011. Last time we had the first 2 hurricanes of the Atlantic hurricane season be major hurricanes was 2011. So, yeah, about 14 years ago. And thank goodness the Gulf and the Caribbean still very calm. Fingers crossed we keep it that way. Our system that was going to sneak into the Caribbean is this guy right here. A few ensembles snuck it into the Caribbean and developed it in the Gulf and the Caribbean. That's what our last live stream was mainly focused on, but it's gone a little bit more north and probably is going to be a close call to the Bahamas, and then we'll have to watch to see where it goes from there. The spread is wild. If it does develop, the spread is anywhere from Florida to Bermuda, right? Like literally. Is literally a crazy spread for this system. And then, like I said, I'm pretty confident this is going to be a tropical storm. Pretty confident it will become a hurricane. And I'm kind of still a little 50-50 on a major hurricane, but with the new ensembles coming in, they keep getting more and more aggressive. We'll have to wait till it becomes an invest, but I'm pretty confident this is going to be pushing a major hurricane, or at least around the realms of a Category 2 hurricane by the time we go into early next week. Now, the GFS, I don't know what the GFS is on. The newest GFS just says goodbye to everything. Like, it has, like, nothing developing. Like, literally. Man, the GFS can be one ridiculous model run, man. And yeah, then the European model run has a brief tropical storm, north of the Bahamas, and then a major hurricane very, very close to, if not over, Bermuda. Canadian model run that has a Category 1 hurricane south of Bermuda, weakens to a tropical storm by the time it gets over Bermuda. And then it also has a tropical storm north of the Bahamas. So that's 2 models that agree on a hurricane out of this AOI and a tropical storm out of this AOI. And the AI Euro, which I really like, I have not looked at yet. Let's see here. Let's see what that has. Ooh, that has a borderline major hurricane out of this AOI. And it looks like it really... maybe a brief tropical depression at best out of this AOI, but really nothing notable with this AI European model run here. Okay. Yeah, so here's a flaw. The AI European model run, right? This thing is a beast of a mid-tier Category 4 hurricane. 140 mile per hour winds, millibar down to 948. Yeah, the AI Euro says it's a 993 tropical storm. This is not a 993 millibar. This is 948. So AI European, definitely not a perfect model run. That's for sure. Definitely not perfect. And I do think this could strengthen a little bit more here over the next like 2 hours, but really I think its peak is now. I think between 5 p.m., which was 2 hours ago, and 8 p.m., which is about an hour from now, I think that's the peak of this storm. I'm looking at hurricane models to make that prediction. But I think it's going to be Category 4 all the way until probably tomorrow afternoon. They have it being Cat 4 until, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, I agree with that. And then it will probably quite rapidly, yes, you could see it will quite rapidly weaken. Cat 3, Cat 2, Cat 1, and then appear tropical storm. I agree with the NHC with that. I did see someone mention the typhoon out there heading towards China. I'm probably not going to end up covering that anymore. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'll go pull up a satellite for you real quick. It's on a weakening mode now, weakening trend. This is what it was last night. Made landfall about midnight Eastern, right about midnight Eastern. And you can see it's really fallen apart past those islands. Let's see what the JTWC has it at. They have it at a... What is that, 140? I think that's about 140 mile per hour sustained. 145 mile per hour sustained winds there. And there you go. That's what it currently looks like. Yeah, and I think this will stay south of Hong Kong in terms of landfall. However, I do believe Hong Kong is still going to get in on pretty intense wind gusts there. Hong Kong will probably have sustained winds about 50, 60 miles per hour by the time we get into tomorrow night. And then wind gusts could be up to about 100 miles per hour, so... Yeah, still pretty good impacts for Hong Kong tomorrow night. Well, thank goodness this storm out here in Ohio is definitely falling apart fast. Still up to 60-mile-an-hour winds with this big old bow echo here. Tore possible tag because there still is a little area to watch on the northern edge of that little area there near Jackson, far southeastern Ohio. And then back down here, still severe storm on this. They did downgrade that. That's going to go into Prestonsburg, Paintville. Downgraded to 40 mile per hour wind gusts with that storm as it is on a weakening trend. Those storms are running out of instability and running out of juice. Sun's setting right now across Kentucky. So losing that daytime heating. And that means it's going to mark the start of this severe weather threat, which, again, I really don't see much coming out of this today. I really don't see much coming out of it. I know we have a risk for, 2.5, 3-inch in diameter hail, 70 mile per hour winds, and if that MCS could really get going up to 80 mile per hour winds, and then they also have that 5% tornado risk, but I really just don't see today performing well. I think our best chance for 3-inch hail, 80 mile an hour winds, and a brief tornado or two is going to be if we can see any discrete storms around Wichita, around this area here, close to, I don't know, about 3 a.m. or so tomorrow morning. Well, actually, I don't believe we've had a single landfall on Bermuda this year. But a lot of close calls, a lot of tropical storm impacts in the wake of rip currents, high waves, tropical storm force wind speeds. I think they've had about maybe two, 3 close calls. And this is probably going to be number 3 or 4 here. But it's very common. It's very, very common. It is actually very common. Yeah, Bermuda's had 2 close calls 2 close calls for Bermuda this year. So this is going to mark probably number 3. And then depending on where this guy goes, could make it number 4 too. Well, I don't know. Because do you consider that a close call? They're not in a tropical storm watch or warning. Because Gabrielle is so small. Very compact storm. So I don't know if you consider that a close call or not. I mean, it's pretty close. About 150 miles east. Debatable close call, but I mean, they're not under a tropical storm watch or warning yet. So they had 2 very close calls. This is a debatable close call. This will likely end up being a close call with this AOI. And then this guy, we'll see. Some ensembles take it into Florida as nothing more than a weak low. Some take it into North Carolina as a tropical storm. And some just take it out to sea as a weak tropical storm near Bermuda. Been good, Siege? How have you been? Glad to see you back in chat. It has been quite a while. Yeah, but like I said, no active tornado warnings now in the U.S., thankfully. Started the stream with 2 tornado warnings, and then we actually peaked at 4 tornado warnings there for a bit. Yeah, it ain't going to be a hurricane for Florida. I'm very confident in that. Worst case scenario with this AOI is a tropical storm for the Outer Banks of North Carolina, or a tropical storm for Bermuda. That's like a worst case scenario. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it. We'll have to wait and see, right? We'll need to watch it closely because it's peak hurricane season still. Our main peak runs from about August 10th through October 15th or so. And the absolute dead peak of hurricane season is actually September 10th. So, but either way, we're still at a very favorable environment out here in the southwestern Atlantic. Obviously, because we have a Cat 4 right now east of Bermuda. So we do want to watch these 2 AOIs very closely. Anything can happen with them. Anything can happen. Never know. Let's see. I have to go 96 frames back here. Actually, 200. Geez. Yeah, so this was about, what, 21Z? It is 23Z. Yeah, this was almost 2 hours ago. I wanted to show you the sun setting on Gabrielle there as a Category 4. 140 mile per hour sustained winds. Hurricane there. And then gone into the shadows. Into the darkness of night. Not affecting anybody but some fishies. It is bringing a little bit of rip currents to Bermuda. Some higher waves, but nothing like too cray-cray. Nothing that bad. Also here across the U.S. there is definitely some rip currents because of it. So this is actually caused by Gabrielle because it's a beast of a Category 4. And man, Category 4s are... Doesn't matter how small they are. They're still Category 4s and still cause some issues in the ocean. You can see that high 3 out of 3 rip current risk there across the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Spots of it in sea, South Carolina, Florida, up the eastern seaboard, Delaware, New Jersey, Long Island. It's best to stay out of the water today. Tomorrow, much of the eastern U.S. under that high red area, 3 out of 3 for rip currents, yellow 2 out of 3 there for tomorrow. So definitely wanted to take precautions there. If you're swimming tomorrow and you're in that red area, I advise highly against it. And yeah, definitely want to pay very close attention to your local National Weather Service and beach officials, what flags are flying. Now, thankfully, if you're having a vacation out there in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, that coastline, western Florida, perfectly fine. Swim away. Little to no rip current risks there. Worst is the eastern coastline of Florida, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, all the way up to Long Island. Let's see here. So hurricanes are like 35,000 feet up into the atmosphere. If you can build a wall that tall, my goodness. Good luck. But even in that case, I don't think it would disrupt it. No. I mean, it might affect a little bit of the clouds and some precipitation, but it ain't gonna do much unless you make the world's ridiculously tall and thick wall. And maybe it would, if you made like a 100-mile long or like 100-mile wide wall and like 500 miles long. Maybe it would disrupt a little bit, but that's impossible. But like I said, these things go 35,000 feet up into the atmosphere, so good luck. We had this discussion in one of our other live streams. Actually, a lot of these hurricanes reach 50,000 feet tall. Typically, they're between 30,000 to 50,000 feet tall. I'd have to look at some. Let's see. I wonder if I could look at it here. Nah. There's a program I could tell how tall they are. Yeah, it depends, but it looks like typically 40,000 feet. Yeah. Either way, you ain't building that high. Either way, but yeah, we're about to come to a close here. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share the stream with your family, friends, social media. Hit that subscribe button with a notification bell set to all because we will be going live tomorrow, most likely between 3:30 and 5:30 Eastern. When storms really start firing, we'll go live. And that may be as late as like 5:30 or so, or it could be as early as like I said, 3:30 Eastern. We'll just see. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in here. And hopefully you all have a fantastic rest of your Monday night. We got just a little bit longer here, about 4 minutes before we really head to the full outro screen here. But yeah, I don't expect much today really out there in terms of severe weather anymore. I mean, we'll still watch mainly southern Kansas around Wichita. I think that's going to be our highest chance for severe storms. And like I said, that will be about 3 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. So I won't be up. Don't know about you, but I won't be up. I will not be up. And yeah, we'll be live for like 3 to 4 hours tomorrow. So, if you got to go to school and I start at like 2 o'clock for some reason, start very, very early, I'll probably still end up being live by the time you get back. So, if you want to, you could watch 3-4 hours, or you could just tune in every now and then. It's up to you. But yeah, we'll be covering that risk out there in Oklahoma. For anyone who needs coverage, we'll be covering that risk in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas. So yeah, again, we'll start between 3:30 and 5:30 Eastern. That's the plan. Now that might shift around. Sometimes the weather is crazy and storms don't fire, but like 4 hours later. But that's just the approximation right now as of the model runs, which we'll get a new HRRR00Z probably in about 2 hours or so. I'll watch that render in off stream. But yeah, that is it for this live stream. I'll go to this here. We'll loop the 18Z HRRR because why not? See you later, Payne. And thank you, Brooklyn. Thank you, Catman and Caleb for all modding chat. I think that was the main mods. Oh, Pete. Of course, Pete. Thank you for modding chat as well. One of the mods I ain't seen in a little while, Ben. Haven't seen Ben in here in a minute. Maybe I just haven't been looking at chat long enough. Yeah, you got to get a storm in the Gulf for the Gulf to go crazy. That's the thing. And especially the upper level pattern too. You can't just, even if sea surface temperatures are like ridiculous, say they're like 35 Celsius, right? Something that is very difficult, if not ridiculous, to achieve. I think they're about 32, 33, 32 Celsius right now in the Gulf. So 35 is crazy. If you've got wind shear and you just simply don't have a wave going into the Caribbean or the Gulf, you're not going to get anything. It doesn't matter how hot it is. You're not going to get anything. Just like if, for severe weather, if you have 200, 300, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH wind shear, and you've got, 100, 200 surface-based instability, well, storms probably aren't going to be able to grow upscale and really intensify enough for you to get tornadoes. So you may, check one ingredient, but the other ingredients aren't favorable. Same for hurricanes. Sea surface temperatures, yeah, favorable in the Gulf. Ocean heat content, favorable. Wind shear, nope. Any tropical waves, nope. And anything that is tropical there is just very, very, very disorganized and very broad areas of low pressure. I think we will see a 10 sig tor tomorrow, and I think we'll see a 30% tornado risk, and I think we'll see maybe a 15 sig hail, depending on if things really get going discreet. But yeah, that's it for this stream. Again, appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's live stream between 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern. That's the planned time frame. Right around there is the start time of our live stream. 30% wind, 10 sig tor. I probably said that backwards. My bad. 30% wind, 10 sig tor, 15 sig hail. There you go. I'm in a hurry to get off. I got 5 seconds. Thank you, Buzz, for my chat. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Catch you in the next one. Stay safe for severe weather in the tropics. Goodbye. Stay safe. Watch the weather in the tropics. I'll see you guys sometime in tomorrow's live stream. Thank you much for my chat. Have a great rest of your Monday night. Goodbye.